Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to talk about how to do the first step of data understanding in a data science project. So let's start. In every data science or machine learning project, the first step is data understanding, which starts with reading the data. The data is generally provided in a structured format of a data table or sometimes a JSON file. Thus, I will start with reading a JSON file using open function, and then I'll explain how to read data in CSV or Excel files and SQL databases using Pandas. To read a JSON file in its structured format, we need the JSON library because the open function basically reads data as a string object. So I import the JSON library, and then in a with statement I define open as f and pass in the path of the sample JSON file I'm going to read, and the mode is equal to R. Then I use the JSON's load function to read the data. This function gets the f as input argument and then returns the JSON file as a Python list object. So I can print out the data. I refer you to my other video for a detailed explanation of how to upload and read data using with open statements. Reading and examining tabular data is done using Pandas library. So first I import Pandas as PD. This is a string variable which determines the location of a CSV file I'm going to read. So I run this code. And let's say I want to put the data in a variable df. The Pandas function for reading a CSV file is pd.read_CSV. And the mandatory input argument in this function is the file path. And note that by default the separator in CSV files is comma, but in some cases the values may be separated with tab or semicolon. In this function I can specify the separator with the sep argument. So I pass the default value of comma. Now let's have a look at the data. If I print a df variable, the first and last 5 rows of the data are shown. But with the head method, we can see the desired number of first rows of the data, for example, first 10 rows. The tail method does the same thing but shows the last rows. So for example df.tail, and by default the number of rows are 5. So it shows the last 5 rows of the data. Another method for seeing the data is sample, which selects randomly some rows and returns the rows. So I say sample, and then for example I want to randomly select 5 rows of the data. Next, for reading an Excel file with Pandas, the only difference is that the file extension needs to be XLS or XLSX, and we use the read Excel function instead. So here, suppose that I have a sample Excel file at this web URL address, and I want to load this file and read it as a Pandas data frame. So the only thing I need to do is that say df is equal to and call the read Excel function and pass in the URL as the file path. Another important parameter in this function is index underline column. This parameter specifies which column needs to be used as the index of the data frame. So it takes either the number of the column or the column name. So I'll set it equal to 0 because I want to use the first column of the data as my index. So, and let's check out the data. Next, I briefly explain the Pandas read SQL function. But for detailed explanation on how to connect and retrieve data from a SQL database in Python, please check out my other video on this topic. To read data from a database with the Pandas, two string variables are required. The first variable is a URL which specifies the database configurations, and the other variable is the SQL query. Now that I have the required parameters, let's say SQL underline df, and call the read underline SQL function, and the first parameter is the query, and the parameter is the URL. Now let's have a look at the data. And this is the data which is retrieved from the SQL database. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or ideas, please share with me in the comments. And if you like this video, don't forget to share it with your friends. Good luck and have fun.